Hi, Janice Perkins here to talk to you again today about some chemistry. And I want to start with the Pygmalion Effect. If you've never heard what the Pygmalion Effect is, I'm going to give you a little background into the research Bob Rosenthal did a number of years ago, where he took a giant batch of rats, randomly separated them into two groups. In one group, he put into individual cages and he labeled them the smart rats. He took the other randomly assigned group, put them in individual cages, and labeled them dumb rats. Then he called all of his researchers in and he said, we're going to do a research study to see if these are really smart and dumb rats and how well they get through the maze. He didn't tell the researchers how he separated them. He just told them they were already labeled. And the researchers, by the way, did not know how to speak rat. They just knew how to speak human, and the rats were speaking rat. And they put them through the maze. And lo and behold, the smart rats outperformed the dumb rats 2-1. Now, did Bob Rosenthal really know how to pick and distinguish at random the smart rats out of that random group? No. In fact, his research was so profound that he had trouble publishing it and had to keep redoing the research. They have since replicated these research studies, even with teachers. And what it tells us is that intent on the researcher, the facilitator, the trainer, the researcher can affect the outcome of the person who's engaged, the student, the rat. So a human with its intention can even affect a rat in a maze. And that was so profound in its time. And it's still pretty shocking when you think about it. Yet, as leaders, we have intent and a predetermined mindset or assumptions that get in the way of how other people perform or engage. And we carry those assumption suitcases. I call them assumption suitcases because we start filling a giant suitcase, it's invisible, with all those assumptions we make about others, and we carry them into every engagement. And that shifts our intent and it changes the outcome of the engagement of the other person. This is incredibly important related to chemistry because a precursor to chemistry, right? If you understand the gates, it's really establishing that relational container. And it also involves willingness. There's an ancient Andean philosophy that talks about the energies between people. It's very similar to the South African philosophy of Ubuntu. What I love about the Andean philosophy is there are different terminologies that help us understand all the different ways that the energy manifests between people in the space between us. And the one that I wanted to talk to relative to the Pygmalion effect is Yanki. And Yanki is really the sacred energy that's about intention and willingness. It's about a hard work ethic and the way we steward and apply ourselves to things. So it's not just that I intend to work hard at this. I also have a mental intent before I even intend to do the work. And that intent is for my work to benefit others and to work beside others in a way that is open and willing to share space and work together. And that willingness to work together in Yanki, I think, is incredibly important when we think about chemistry and its relationship to the Pygmalion effect, is that chemistry really starts in our minds. That when we are willing and we are intentional with our effort to steward our effort to the best of our abilities and show up for people that way with the highest of intent, then chemistry, right, has a higher chance of emerging through one of the gates because I've shown up open in creating that relational container right off the bat. And without that, when we enter with negative intent, then it doesn't have a chance to open at all. And I really got to experience this yesterday with the team that I was working with for the first time. And we did an exercise to create really an openness within the team to reset in order to move forward with better collaboration. And it was one of the most intense amazing outpourings of chemistry that I had ever seen emerge through a relational container. And it did so because Yanki was present. There was such a willingness and intent in the heart of each of the members of that leadership team to show up and reset because they wanted higher engagement and better teamwork together. And that is how Yanki and our intent through the Pygmalion effect can really impact chemistry and help it erupt, manifest, and accelerate all at the same time, which it did with profound beauty yesterday. And I was blessed to be able to see that. Tune in for more information on chemistry here.